getting out of the drama, but actually kind of related to gas pricing, is that my next guest is in Calgary right now, in Alberta, where gas is plentiful. But more importantly, there is going to be celebrations with the Calgary Stampede. And so I'm joined with Jeff Musson from Coding for Veterans to get an update on what they're doing. And as well, welcome to the show, Jeff.
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
It's great. We've had a nice Canada Day down here. I'm sure you've been very busy, and then we're going to be having July 4th for our 250th anniversary of the United States, which, we still have a lot of American cousins, friends, and family that we're wishing all the best over there.
Yeah, I know for sure. And the Calgary Stampede starts tomorrow, and it's going to be a great addition to this event.
So I know that you're hanging around your float right now, but before we get to the float, tell us a little bit about Coding for Veterans and as well the work that you do in both the United States and Canada. I mean, there's been a lot of the drama going on, but I've actually been pushing a few topics and stories about the benefits of our two countries. We just had Greg McClinchy from the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission, for example, the great work happening back and forth. What are you doing with Coding for Veterans?
Yeah, so Coding for Veterans helps military veterans retrain for jobs in cybersecurity, software development, and next-gen AI. The program's delivered 100% online through the University of Ottawa, and when we launched in 2019, we had 5 students, and we now have over 1,000 that have come through the program. And it was interesting. It was about 2.5 years ago. We started to have a lot of Americans that wanted to apply for our program, but there was no funding mechanism. So we got a program approved with the Veterans Affairs in the U.S. For GI Bill funding, and so now we retrain U.S. military veterans in our program in partnership with the University of Southern California. So, and then as an extension on that, we were actually in the Rose Bowl parade for a couple of years, and because of that interaction, there were executives from the Calgary Stampede in the grandstands, and that's how we got invited and started a new tradition to be out here at the Calgary Stampede.
That's amazing. And for the listeners, Jeff is from Windsor. We actually served on the Planning Advisory Committee 3 lifetimes ago, and ages ago. But what's it like for yourself, traveling Canada and having like a program that's obviously born for Canadian veterans and performed extremely well, but then kind of evolved to also include some American veterans. So it's like when you crop. I know that you've been in the East Coast, you've been in Central Canada, and now you're out in Calgary. What's it like to kind of have that type of a unique way to promote the Canada-U.S. relationship?
I can tell you, in terms of Canadian pride and patriotism, it has never been higher. And when you look at a program like ourselves, what better way to honor the service and sacrifice of men and women who are served in the military than providing them good opportunities for employment and careers after their service. And in Canada, and the same stat applies in the U.S., but to a larger degree, there are over 150,000 IT jobs that are open waiting to be filled. And when you look at the soft skills of someone in the military, like their leadership, attention to detail, and teamwork, those are the skills that are in demand for employers in the IT sector. So, it becomes a great, we like to say you go from transition, serving on the battlefield to now serving in cyberspace.
And that's one of the things that I keep reminding is a good friend of mine. He's passed away. Ralph Mayville was a veteran. He was part of a joint elite Canada-U.S. commando unit that was activated in 1942. It was called the 1st Special Services Force, and I still have a hat that Ralph gave me, and this was called the Devil's Brigade. They were very much, they went under training in Montana, and then they served with the distinction in the Italian campaign before they went to southern France, and they were later deactivated in 1944, but there's a couple movies on them and so forth. But there is this history that reaches deep back. In fact, there were Canadians that went and fought in the U.S. Civil War, and there were Americans that also came to help out us before the U.S. actually joined the Second World War. They had Texans come to Windsor to learn how to fly in the Royal Air Force. So we have this history outside of the politics of people on both sides going back and forth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And And when you look at things, especially in the IT sector and in cyber, there's a lot of collaboration that happens between, the military on both sides, because, at the end of the day, it's about defending, cyber from attacks, right? And, that transcends kind of borders. And, when you look at people from our military, they make for the best, as I said earlier, best employees in the IT sector.
And what's the difference between the kind of a Canadian veteran going in the program and the U.S. veteran? Have you noticed anything different, or maybe there's more similarities? But what as you kind of run this program, in two ways, what's kind of the result that's taken place?
Yeah, so there's a couple of key things that interesting to note. And, for starters, our program actually just got approved for current serving members to take it, as well as reservists and spouses and family members in Canada. In the U.S., they have already established the family unit as, qualifying for retraining in this area. And so, in terms of the actual people coming into the program, there's now a very good alignment. And then in terms of individuals who come through the program, it's really interesting because especially in Canada, they want to continue to serve in a different capacity. And there have been some people that have been injured in the military and medically released on both sides of the border, but it's that, the idea that they still want to kind of continue to serve, and where, now their skill set ends up shifting to an online kind of defense.
Nice. Now, you're out there at the Calgary Stampede with a float. You were at the Rose Bowl. You won twice the international award, so that's pretty proud achievement. What's the reason that you're out doing these events, and what's the reaction when you actually are out there? I imagine you get quite a different look.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. And there's really some key takeaways of why we do this. So number one, bringing awareness of our program for individuals who may want to enroll after leaving the military. And so being able to, get word out and to work with media and, including yourself, in which to spread the word. But secondly, and this is very important as well, to really educate employers of why they would want to hire veterans into their companies and the value that a veteran would bring to that company. And so there's a little bit of an education component. And so being in events like the Calgary Stampede and in the Rose Bowl and others really helps to bring awareness, to programs like ourselves.
That's excellent. And where you have the Calgary Stampede out there at the moment, I want to take this opportunity to say, what's it like out there? Like, I've never made it out for the Calgary Stampede. I was invited many times. I just couldn't go. I had other work to do. Maybe to the listeners right now, what's it like being out in Calgary? Is it hotter than heck? And how the excitement for the Stampede, the parade tomorrow and everything?
Yeah, for sure. So what's interesting is all the hot weather is back home in Windsor and in Essex County and in the eastern area. Out here right now, it's like 72 degrees, sunny, and tomorrow's forecast is supposed to be the same. So weather-wise, ideal. It's interesting, the buzz because this is now the third year that we've been in the Stampede, but really the buzz and the optimism and everything as it relates to the economic reality that, the oil industry and others are starting to kind of rebound, and Canada can be that trusted international partner. And so there's really a lot of optimism on the ground. Like I said earlier, the patriotism here, everyone is, flying the Canadian flag. And, I know on Saturday ourselves, we are hosting a watch party for the Canadian soccer team as part of FIFA.
Nice.
So it's, So It's really a festive atmosphere out here.
Well, you enjoy there. For the residents of Windsor, Essex County, you can be our spy, as we know that we eventually are going to take over the world, starting with Canada, but
sure.
one person at a time. So, anyway, enjoy the pancakes and the celebrations out there. And again, Coding for Veterans. What's the best way to reach if you're interested in getting to know Coding to Veterans?
Yeah, so just go to our website, codingforveterans.com, and if you want to see all the activities and activations, follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Jeff. We appreciate you coming on, and good luck with the parade tomorrow, and I wish you and your team all the best.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks. That's Jeff Musson from Coding for Veterans. We're going to take a quick break. You listen to Brian Massey on AM 800.